Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 23 of season 3 of our F125 Red Bull Driver Career Mode. Yes, we return this weekend here for the Qatar Grand Prix out at the Lusail International Circuit. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Las Vegas, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. 2 races to go, and it is all starting to look like it's going to come down to the wire between myself and Lando Norris. Now, yeah, obviously, last weekend, I made some claims that Verstappen might be sabotaging us. Some of you guys were a little bit confused in that video because, obviously, I was trying to pit, and Verstappen, directly behind me, also tried to dive in. The reason why I stayed out was because I figured that, obviously, with the Constructors' Championship also being as close as it is, if Verstappen could have got an undercut on Norris in front, then we could have obviously tried to work together to try and get the better of Lando. But I've pretty much decided now in my own head that Verstappen is trying to do everything he possibly can to make sure that it's Lando that wins this championship as opposed to myself. Now, having a look then at all the upgrades, we've pretty much got everything protected now on this Red Bull car. So whether I stay, whether I leave for next year, Red Bull should be in good hands. We currently have a 16-point lead then over Lando Norris, so if we outscore him by 10 over the course of this weekend, then we would head to Abu Dhabi with the championship all wrapped up. But McLaren, though, still have a 21-point lead in the Constructors, so they need to outscore us by about 35 points this weekend, there or thereabouts, and McLaren would head to Abu Dhabi with the Constructors wrapped up. I'm pretty certain, actually, with the way the maths works, either McLaren can wrap up the Constructors, or we can wrap up the drivers. Both can't happen here. So, you know, at least we know we're going to head into that season finale with at least one championship fight on our hands as well. Of course, if you're new and you're not already, please do consider hitting that sub button. We are getting very, very close to 15k here on the channel at the moment as well. I actually got an email through a few days ago. Apparently now the channel's 2 years old. I honestly thought it was older than that. So yeah, massive, massive thank you to everybody that is enjoying the work we're doing here. But without further ado then, let's return to Lusail. Well, heading out then into sprint qualifying, we have got a bit of an issue with this Red Bull car once again. You guys might remember out in Singapore a few weeks ago, we had a real problem with oversteer with this Red Bull. And that seems to have reared its ugly head here in Qatar once more. Through the final sector, this thing is so impossibly slidey that I'm basically having to run pretty much maxed out downforce to try and keep it pointing in a straight line. That is, yeah, well, it was a pretty good thing on F123 and F124, but in F125 it's not so ideal, because it just means here you just don't have the sticking power, the straight line speed, sorry. You've got enough sticking power, but effectively now we've got to try and make up time around the rest of the lap, and well, purple through sector 1 then. Maybe we can make up that time then. I don't think everybody has gone out and set particularly great lap times just yet. Also, the medium tyre here isn't a bad one to actually qualify on as well, so we'll wait and see what kind of time we can get out of it. But yeah, the team were not happy come the end of free practice, and we'll wait and see what the balance is like now. Rest of the lap, the car is absolutely fine. It is just when we try and tip it in through here, and then it gets incredibly loose and lively, especially kind of through these final 2, but that seems to be a whole lot better. And then through the final one, it's still a little bit, you can feel it underneath you trying to move around a bit, but able to manage it that time round then is through the final corner on the run back towards the start-finish line. Then where are we going to end up on the first run? We go P2, only 3/10 away from Oscar Piastri, but that is 1.3 seconds quicker than anything I did in practice. Well, less than a minute then on the clock. Let's see if it's only actually a soft compound tyre issue, because that was the set I was using throughout free practice. Oscar Piastri still up at the top of the board there, but Lando Norris and Max Verstappen down in P9 and P10. I mean, if we could outscore Norris here by a good chunk of points after the first runs there, I'd be very, very happy with that. So, let's make sure I've still got the car up in hot lap mode, then using a bit more battery down in towards turn 1, but really want to try to attack these first couple of corners of the lap, then gain a bit of time nice and early, and know that we've got the confidence, know that we have got the sticking power in this Red Bull car then, as will we see any more times improve up towards the front. to wait and see there. Oscar, I don't know which McLaren's actually gone through. Either way, Behrman now up at a P4 then, so we could see some surprises come the end of qualifying there. It's just trying to use a bit of battery around the lap as well. Qualifying is complete. It doesn't really look like any of the AI are improving here. I mean, this circuit, especially on soft compound rubber, is a real tyre killer. So I think, yeah, even for the sprint race, we're probably going to opt for a set of the mediums, but half a second up then at the moment. This should put us in the green against Oscar Piastri, and we are, but we know that McLaren mighty fast through this final sector there, and again, the car now is gripping up pretty nicely. Oh, it's just through that final one still. It just wants to break free a little bit there. One more corner to go, though. Is this going to be pole position? Oh, here for the Qatar sprint race, I think it is. 7 tenths up, 118 flat. That is P1. Well, there we go then. Pole position by 3 tenths of a second, and where my championship rival will only line up in P9. This is going to be a good test for Max Verstappen, though. Can he keep him at bay? Can he help us big up some points in the Constructors' Championship as well? But yeah, looks like it's going to be just a simple race between myself and Oscar up at the front. 4 Brits inside your top 5, though. It is only Lando Norris dragging the side back, if I remember correctly. And once again, then, neither Ferrari inside your top 10. What on earth has happened to them?
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. We're back here in Losail for a track that's 3.34 miles long. There are 16 turns around its unique 3-prong shape and just a single DRS zone out of turn 16. It's fast and it's flowing, and there's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS down the long straight and into turn 1. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Behrman, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Sainz, Gasly, Verstappen, Norris, and Esteban Ocon, Bortoletto, Antonelli, Alex Albon, and Leclerc, Colapinto, Stroll, Nico Hulkenberg, and Isaac Hadjar. Lawson and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Well, we've got to try and get on with this sprint race quite quickly, because apparently there's meant to be changeable conditions as we head into qualifying later on this evening, so clearly some storms may be brewing here around the Qatar circuit, and maybe a storm brewing in the Drivers' Championship fight as well there. Lando Norris on the back foot after sprint qualifying, but we were able to deliver the goods on our very last run. Top 3 all opting for mediums on the start, Behrman and Hamilton on softs. It is 5 red lights. And it is lights out, and away we go then. Not getting off to the best start in the world, but neither is Oscar Piastri. It's going to be Behrman down the middle then, in towards turn 1, and how do we play this? Pretty safely through that first corner there, as Ollie Behrman trying to get around the outside of Oscar Piastri, and it's the Haas man going to immediately storm up into P1. He's going to get the move done there, and Ollie Behrman from 4th on the grid there, straight up into the lead of the GP. Russell's gone backwards as well, a little bit further behind, but what a move by the Haas man there, down the middle of 2 drivers that know they need to play it safe for points this late on in the season, know they need to try and deliver for their teams, and Ollie Behrman and Haas, well, they're just out here vibing. Let's not forget Esteban Ocon won a race, obviously back in season 1 of this career mode, round 2 ever of this driver career mode inside F1 25, so yeah, Haas have obviously seen a bit of success inside this game. I've seen them take a couple of podiums elsewhere as well, and well, I wouldn't mind if we saw them see more success in the future as well there, but already then, obviously the medium tyres, I mean, you do really light up the tyres around this Qatar circuit, especially with how upgraded these cars are as well. You know, it doesn't take long before you've got some temperature into them. Just got to be more careful, obviously, about overheating the rubber as out of the final corner. Then Behrman trying to scamper away up at the front of the order. Are we going to be able to get a run on Piastri? That should give you an idea as to just how much wing we are running here. That even using overtake mode, we were still losing ground to the McLaren. Well, we've already got a little bit of experience then trying to fire up this medium tyre, obviously from our first run in qualifying. But Behrman I mean, he's not quite seemingly able to get out of the DRS range early on. But he's doing a pretty good job there against Oscar Piastri. I mean, oh, why am I up in 8th gear? Definitely don't have the drive off of the corners up in top gear there. But hopefully we can try and get a run out of the final corner. And maybe apply some pressure then back on Oscar Piastri just in front of us. Looks like Norris has jumped Verstappen a little bit further behind as well. But 220 miles an hour by the time we get to turn 1. And a huge dive on Oscar Piastri there, reclaiming second spot in this race. But has that just cost us a little bit more to Behrman? Again, he'll know, just push like crazy, try and get away. But how long will those soft tyres last? Just really biding our time then at the moment. We know that Ollie Behrman's soft compound tyres should fall off, but until we can definitely get a run on him, there's no point trying to be right up his gearbox, potentially putting more damage through our rubber. But as we make our way then back in towards turn 1, are we going to be close enough to have a bit of a look? So we know we'll still have confidence on the brakes, but Ollie Behrman, he is driving like his career depends on it early on this evening there. I mean, Haas, as I've said, I've never seen him win a sprint race. For some reason, we always seem to get some rather strange oddities in sprint racing inside F1 25, and well, a Haas winning it would certainly be one of the oddest ones I've seen. We did have Gabriel Bortoletto, though, on pole, didn't we? I believe last season or season 1 at Belgium, if I remember correctly as well, inside this series. So yeah, the sprints really do chuck up kind of some interesting dynamics inside F1 25. So just trying to make sure, oh, there you go, get the car rotated through. But all that I talked about with the oversteer in practice, maybe it wasn't an issue over one lap, but it's certainly going to become a problem as we make our way through this sprint race. Well, I think I'm going to have to try and get a run on Behrman here, otherwise Piastri might be able to get a run on me there, half a second behind out of the final corner. And Ollie Behrman, will he try and defend? Yes, he will, but it is going to be all for naught. A valiant effort by the Haas man so far in this race. He will hang on to P2 for now, but up back into the lead then of this sprint race we go. Let's just see if we can pull out a little bit of a margin, try and turn it up out of nowhere. Oh, we've got yellows. Someone's breaking down a bit further back. I think that might be a Sauber. Is that Bortoletto? Is that Hulkenberg? At this stage of the race, it is Gabriel Bortoletto then. Becomes our first retirement of Sprint Race Saturday there. But I mean, immediately then, Behrman being faced with dirty air, he has not got the sticking power to hang with myself there, and is going to be even more vulnerable from Oscar Piastri just behind. I mean, this has worked out beautifully for us now. We've got a 2-second margin up at the front of the order, and a new fastest lap to boot. Oh, we've got more yellows. We've got more yellows. Another one going. Who is it this time round then? Oh, it's Oscar Piastri, the McLaren man that was running up in P2 here. He just completed the move on Behrman. And Oscar Piastri, well, a Mercedes engine going pop in Qatar is something that I've seen so many times before, but that does huge damage to McLaren in their Constructors' Championship hopes. Weirdly, though, it does help up Lando Norris, because obviously it'll mean that he effectively gets a spot for free there, and is up to P5 now in this race. So it looks like we're going to outscore him by, what, 4 points in this sprint? I think that would mean if we win the race tomorrow, that would be Drivers' Championship decided. One more lap to go then here of Sprint Race Saturday, and I think Carlos Sainz now, maybe it was when Oscar Piastri, his engine expired. I think Sainz got a little bit of damage in that moment because he has dropped away and actually given Ollie Behrman a bit of breathing room in front. Norris and Russell now have fought their way through, so Norris looks like he could still bag a podium from this sprint race there, seemingly out of nowhere all day long, but it's just kind of ended up in the right place at the right time. But at least for Ollie Behrman, we're going to see him and Haas pick up a podium as well, obviously from Sprint Race Saturday there. But for us at the front, we played the patience game early on. I made sure that we didn't get any damage at the start, just kept it clean, kept it tidy, bided our time behind Ollie Behrman, let him burn up his soft compound tyre, and then as soon as the advantage shifted in the favour of the mediums, that was our chance to pull away, and exactly what we need this weekend to remind Lando Norris that that McLaren package might be very, very good, but when we are in the groove, when we are running with a very, very aggressive setup, we can still be very fast. Look at the blistering on that left-hand side tyre, though. Tyre wear in the main event is going to be very, very tricky to try and manage here. But I'm not going to worry about that now as we make our way in towards the final couple of corners. Sprint Race Saturday is going to go the way of Red Bull once again. Absolutely love to see it and could prove pivotal come the end of the year. Get in there.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes.
Well, there we go then. I don't know if that's ever happened before in Formula 1, that 4 drivers from the same nationality, excluding the Indy 500, have ever finished inside your top 4. Only Pierre Gasly and Lewis Hamilton there denied us of it being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will claim the victory, though, ahead of Ollie Behrman. Lando Norris in 3rd, ahead of George Russell there, with, as I said, the aforementioned Frenchman ahead of Hamilton there. Verstappen picks up a couple of points alongside Carlos Sainz there, just ahead of Albon and Antonelli. But with your 2 retirements being Bortoleto and Oscar Piastri there, means they have got a lot of work to do and probably some grid penalties as we head into the main event. Sit rep, though, 18 points now, the gap ahead of Lando Norris. So I'll need to double check how Countback is looking. But if we win the Grand Prix tonight, that might be it. That might be enough to be crowned Formula 1 World Champion. Constructors-wise, 17, the gap now coming down as well. So we need to try and make sure that we still outscore McLaren. But you can see as well, Verstappen's suddenly now back up to P4 over on the championship. As Albon and Leclerc start to really struggle right towards the end of the campaign.
It's all about flow and pace today, qualifying in Qatar. A high-speed test that will set the grid for tomorrow's race. So welcome along.
Well, I've got to be honest then, as we head out into real qualifying, this I don't think was what anybody had expected when we returned to Qatar. It's a good job Pirelli forced to bringing the wets and the intermediates to every single weekend, because occasionally you can get little things like this throwing up.
Times, looks like the conditions are now ready for wets.
So yeah, team are adamant that we want to be on the wet compound tyre, but they still reckon the intermediate was quicker. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a glitch in this game. I've explained that before. The way it kind of simulates the inter and the wet time is actually based on F124, not on F125 data. So I've given myself enough fuel to go for 2 runs. I'm basically going to take this first one to kind of learn where the grip is. And then the second one, hopefully we can try and push on a little bit more aggressively. So I will make sure that I'm not burning through too much ERS. But hopefully we can also still set a decent enough time there as we get towards the end. Sector 1 there, trying to just keep the car inside track limits. First reference point is going to be Nico Hülkenberg. We are only 3/10 down. But obviously, like I said, we've used very little battery. This first lap then has been taken fairly easy. But Max Verstappen, of course, a driver that always thrives in the unknown there, straight to the top of the pile on a 134. We're barely out of the final corner by the time a 134 has ticked by. We go P11, only quicker than those Saubers. I don't think we're going to find 3 seconds on this second run, but hopefully we will find a bit there. As, like I said, it just means you know roughly where you can brake in towards turn 1, how much grip you're going to find on the exit of the corner. All well and good knowing that, though, but if you can't get the car pointed where you need it, it's largely irrelevant there as trying to get the power down up the hill. Yeah, we have obviously still got enough fuel, and we've got plenty of time to head back out on the full wets if I need to. I think this lap's going to be an improvement, but yeah, we definitely need the full wets. Well, there we go, George Russell now up to the top of the pile with a 134.1, so the track is steadily improving then for our wet compound runners. I mean, through Sector 3... we are finding bags of time at the moment. It feels so alien, though, to be driving this circuit in these conditions. I know I've had one wet race here before, and it was incredibly glitched. If I remember it correctly, everybody started pitting with like 2 laps to go. 35.0, though, puts us up to P4. And we actually went quicker than Norris behind me that lap, so maybe the Inters are competitive. He's going to be last chance saloon then, and look at that. After we went to the intermediate, sorry, if we went back to the wets, everybody else then has now decided they want intermediates here, so no idea kind of what's going on towards the end of this session. Conditions haven't changed or anything like that, but this is just going to be one of those weekends where whatever you do seems to be the wrong choice throughout qualifying there. Make sure we get the power down on the run to the line, make sure we get the car up in hot lap mode as well. Let's just wait and see if we can find a bit more time then. We're still ahead of Lando Norris at this stage of the session. But is George Russell going to spring a big surprise in that Mercedes there? There is definitely some grip. You can carry a bit more confidence through the corners and just get on that throttle a little bit quicker off of the turns as well. As we make our way then up in towards turn 4 and turn 5 there. Oh, still getting that understeer inherent of a tyre that just hasn't got the grip you expect it to have. But 4 tenths up though by the end of sector 1. That is pretty reassuring now. We've just got to keep trying to find the lap time around the rest of the lap. The problem is, we might be going quicker, but is everybody else there finally getting a few cars through the final couple of corners? And let's wait and see what their times are going to be. Hulkenberg goes fastest. Track is definitely ramping up then. Everybody's coming through and setting purple lap times there. Album does a 1:31.8, and maybe it's one of those sessions where you want to be the last car on a run. Verstappen, 31.3 now. So have we just done this session the wrong way around? Did we use inters when wets were the choice? And have we gone back to wets when inters were the choice? Through the final corners!
Mind that front wing, it's going to need replacing if it takes too much damage.
Well, first of all then, no idea how we got away with such little front wing damage, but we are out of qualifying, and for the penultimate race of the season, we will line up P17. Qatar, it has thrown up a surprise, and it has absolutely screwed us. And there we go then, Max Verstappen clearly didn't like the idea of George Russell starting from pole position. Those decided he was going to take it for himself there. P1 for our teammate, and absolutely what he needs towards the end of the year there. Russell will line up second ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Albon and Lando Norris there inside your top 5. Behrman, another great effort to go quicker than Lewis Hamilton, with Sainz, Ocon and Leclerc all inside your top 10. But it got even worse for Piastri and myself there, because we still had 2 cars that were out on runs. I believe it was Isaac Hadjar and I want to say Esteban Ocon as well, right towards the end of the qualifying. But Bortoletto and Piastri just didn't bother going back out there. We have ended up sandwiched between them. I just cannot believe we have messed it up, and now we have got a lot of work to do.
Welcome back to Qatar and the Losail International Circuit. There's a long history of two-wheeled motorsport action here, but in 2021, Lewis Hamilton won out as part of an epic battle that year with Max Verstappen. But who will win out tonight? So we're back here in Losail, and this is the track map. 3.34 miles, 16 turns, and just 1 DRS zone out of turn 16. It's already a fast and flowing track after all. There's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS, though, through the long straight and into turn 1. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position. And Andrea Kimi Antonelli completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Albon, Behrman, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Sainz, Ocon, Leclerc, Lawson, and Max Verstappen, Hadjar, Doohan, Lance Stroll, and Norris, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Oscar Piastri, and Gabriel Bortoletto, Colapinto, and Mr. Monaco. And now it's time to head down to the track. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. So we come to Qatar this weekend, and what's the word I'm looking for when I think about the middle part of this track? Relentless.
The whole track's relentless. It's predominantly built to be a motorbike circuit. For an F1 car, that means a lot of G-force. It's hot here, it's humid this time of the year that we come to in Formula One, and this puts pressure on the drivers. It also puts pressure on the car and the demands of the tyres. So it's a brutal circuit.
Now I know this isn't where we wanted to start this race, but given we're back here at the back of the grid, it means there's an opportunity to move forward. I've seen you karting back in the day. Let's go and do it again.
Well, lining up then at the rear of the field, but penalties galore. Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, both starting out of position as well. Oscar Piastri, of course, we already knew was at the rear of the field. And I decided to take some grip pens, and we have started right from the very back as well. I'm going to try, though, and go for the alternate strategy here. I'm going to start on the hards. Hopefully we can stay out of trouble, and then try to go to the mediums towards the end of the race to be a little bit quicker there. But fighting your way through the order is going to be difficult with how much wing we are running as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a really, really tough night. But he's probably, you know, this will be championship defining potentially. So, you know, it's going to really, really test the driver's skill and ability as well. For both McLaren and Red Bull, we know there is an opportunity to make a huge leap in the Constructors' Championship as well. But let's wait and see what we can do then. The 5 red lights are on, and it's lights out, and away we go then here for the Qatar Grand Prix. They're not getting off to a good start into turn 1, but I'm not too worried about that one then, as we make our way down in towards turn 1. Colapinto and Bortoletto there, despite starting on the soft compound tyre, not really making any progress. Oscar Piastri also just trying to stay out of trouble there as Norris. What does he do in that McLaren? Does he go aggressive and hope that obviously he can try and make up some places early on? Or does he just play it a bit safer? He knows we're behind him and just make sure that he keeps us at bay and keeps his championship hopes alive as we head to Abu Dhabi next weekend. Only time will tell. I can see him side by side there, I believe, with Jack Dooham. So are we going to be able to do the old up and under on Bortoletto? No, we aren't. He's just going to spend, well, pretty much so far this entire lap side by side there with Franco Colapinto. Of course, two rivals in their Formula 2 days. Colapinto probably getting the better seat in Formula 1. He definitely got the better seat in Formula 1 there, but Bortoletto has easily been the more impressive driver so far in his time in Formula 1 inside this series, as Russell, though, still leading the way then towards the end of lap 1. He's got a Williams and an Aston Martin there in hot pursuit, but not really making any progress then at the start of this race. It will take quite a few laps, though, before these hard tyres become the one you want to have. So we've just got to keep it clean and tidy, and just make sure, yeah, that we are still with these guys when that advantage slowly starts to shift. Well, I don't want to think about too many hypotheticals too early on in the race, but if Lando Norris were to DNF, I believe we would need just a 6th place finish here to make sure that we wrap up enough points for the World Championship. And already then, starting to get a little bit bored of occupying the last spot currently in this race. As Verstappen, he's already making some decent progress, but I mean, look at the speed of Gabriel Bortoletto there to the inside, though, of the Brazilian down in towards turn 1. He might have speed, but we have confidence there down the inside, and up then into a mighty P19. Oscar Piastri there getting a bit of a wobble, and that might allow us to try and get a run on Franco Colapinto then, as Piastri clearly really struggling early on tonight there, as Franco just panicked for a second that he wasn't going to give us any room. But how often do you see who overtakes through there then? Around the outside we will go of the Ferrari man. How much longer will he keep hold of that seat? Coming to the end then of lap 4 here. I think Hajar now is going to be under some pressure from Nico Hülkenberg, but it looks like Charles Leclerc has really been holding up a lot of cars early on in this race. Lando Norris finally finding a way past him by the time they get down towards someone there, as Hülkenberg will make the move work now on Hajar. But you know, Oscar Piastri really not making much progress early on here, and he's stuck behind Pierre Gasly, who we saw in the sprint race was actually pretty racy. So kind of that horrible thing of you're a bit quicker than the car in front, who's a bit quicker than the car in front of them, but unless you do something like this, you're going to struggle to really make much progress there, as that doesn't bode well, does it? Oh man, just got a little bit too leery on the curb on the exit of the corner, and suddenly now we've got a lot of work to do once again. Well, I just made sure then that we didn't cook the tyres trying to get them back up to speed once again, as there you go, look at that. 1.5 second improvement when I'm not stuck in traffic there, as I think they're going almost 3 wide back in towards turn 1, but we've definitely got the speed there. That was just really unfortunate, because it felt like the hard tyre was probably about to become the one you want to be on. But yeah, Piastri then finally starting to make some progress. As I mean, tyre wear is not that bad right now. We could probably afford to stretch these quite deep into the race. Maybe get a late safety car, something like that. Perhaps a gamble that could be worth the risk if we're still not making up much progress. Verstappen still ahead of Norris, though, is useful, because it does mean, of course, with Oscar and I out of the points, We should still gain on McLaren. I've tried to be patient. I've tried to be friendly early on in this race, but there just isn't time for it. With a championship on the line like this, there is all Bortoletto. Just gets a little bit of a wobble out of that final corner. Again, that Ferrari engine just giving him so much drive off of the turn there as Hajar gets jumped by Colapinto. And he might be about to get jumped again. There is all. We will go for the double overtake. Down in towards someone there. Bortoletto just getting a little bit panicked. Getting boxed in. But 2 cars navigated in one go. But Colapinto also on the softs. I mean, 8 laps in, they are really beginning to struggle, surely. As you can see, they're trying to get the car rotated up through the top of the circuit. Got to try and find a way around the Argentinian once again. And especially now, that he's lost that DRS to the cars in front. We've got to try and push on and get on with it because we know that Gasly and Piastri's pace is pretty good there. That is a audacious dive bomb in through turn 7, but it's worked. Oh, come on then, let's see if we can try and get a run on Pierre Gasly. Is definitely now, the hard tyre is the one you want to have there as George Russell actually into the pit lane. The Mercedes is 2-stopping. Why on earth are they doing that there as we've got bigger things to worry about? Hulkenberg, Stroll and Piastri 3 wide down in turn 1, and look at that! Piastri's just had both of them in one corner. There's Gasly now getting a little bit caught up in all of the confusion there, and we will try and get a big run off of the turn then to the inside of the Frenchman. We will go, but what on earth is happening then as we prepare ourselves, or everybody else preparing themselves for the pit stops here, and Stroll as well, really struggling now on that sub-compound tyre. But what a move by Oscar Piastri there to get around the outside of the pair of them. A moment of chaos in this Grand Prix, but why on earth is George Russell on a 2-stop? He's had no dirty air to contend with or anything like that so far in this Grand Prix. But clearly Mercedes would rather play it safe, try and go aggressive, and that I believe now means Hamilton, for the first time pretty much all year, is up into the lead of a Grand Prix. Can I stay? Well, not with lines like that. We can't stay in the range of Oscar Piastri. Once again, the loose back end of this Red Bull starting to rear its ugly head. Well, I'm pretty certain then it's only George Russell and Gabriel Bortoletto that are attempting the 2-stop tonight, but everybody else then peeling into the pit lane, including our teammate Max Verstappen, come the end of lap 12 here. So I assume, yeah, that is Hamilton is still effectively in the lead. Yes, it is. They're on to a set of hards. He will go as we will sweep past Oscar Piastri down in towards turn 1 as well. Doohan, Ocon, and I believe that's Carlos Sainz, currently your top 3. What a result that would be come the checkered flag. Oh, I thought that was an engine failure. Just for a brief moment, I thought that might have been an engine failure. Luckily, it's only DRS, but still rather annoying, actually.
Okay, there's a fault with the DRS. You will not be able to open the rear wing. We're working on a fix. Stay out for now.
That was a good job that didn't happen 10 seconds earlier. Otherwise, the DRS would be stuck wide open, and we'd probably have no choice but to retire the car. Well, I've said it before, the Aston Martin, actually a very good car on its tyres inside this game. It definitely helped us towards the World Championship last year, as this is definitely something I haven't seen before. Jack Doohan to the lead of a Formula 1 Grand Prix there, as Russell now, despite the fact he's already pit, almost back to the front of the order, but Alpine and Jack Doohan to the front. I mean, obviously all the rumours spiralling this week about Flavio Briatore apparently going backwards and forwards on who he wants back in the car. But if Doohan could do this IRL, or could have done this, maybe he could have kept the seat. That being said, though, Doohan is incredibly slow now on these medium tyres, and with George Russell closing in rather thick and fast, there's just nowhere to go around him around this part of the circuit, though, trying to get on the throttle as early as we can. But with George Russell now only a couple of seconds away, I was hoping we'd still be ahead of the Mercedes by the time we dive into the pit lane here, but I'm not sure we're going to be. As I mean, to his credit, he's got a 10-second gap over Hamilton. Verstappen is 17 seconds back in this race at the moment. So yeah, he's doing a very good job there as to the inside of Doohan. We will have to go down at the final corner. That might have been a bit pointless. He's going to immediately dive into the pit lane anyway. But Russell now applying the pressure. We're going to try and go to the end of lap 17. And then I'm going to go mediums to the flag. I don't think it's worth risking, waiting for a safety car or anything like that. Because it's highly unlikely you end up with a car and a wall here. Well, I wonder if George Russell has just been told to stay out of the DRS range, obviously, just to help look after his tyres a little bit more, because he's just been floating at about a second away. But this time around, then, maybe if he knows I'm pitting, he's just got a little bit closer here. Watching the gaps a little bit further behind, though, Verstappen senses blood in the water with Hamilton. He's been closing in by nearly half a second a lap there, as that was aggressive on pit lane entry. But where are we going to re-emerge then in this Grand Prix? We need a good pit stop by the boys down at the team. And hopefully, yeah, we can try and get ourselves towards the front. There we go. 2.4 seconds. There's still the DRS isn't back online. And that is going to become a much bigger issue towards the end of this Grand Prix. But we might be up inside your top 10 then at the moment. It's going to be close there. There goes Albon. Here goes Behrman and Carlos Sainz there. No, we're going to come out in P11. But we do stay ahead then, or we've actually overcut Oscar Piastri in this Grand Prix, so that has worked out beautifully. But of course, this is where we should be quick towards the end of the afternoon. Softer, fresher tyres than pretty much everybody else. We dealt with the pain earlier on in the night, and now I'm hoping we can really fly along. As already you can just see how much grip we've got. Closing in on Esteban Ocon. Can we immediately go to the outside then, as we're still trying to fire up these tyres? And well, we might not have come out of the pit lane in your top 10, but we have immediately bolstered ourselves back up into it there. Ollie Behrman up next then, as we make our way through this technical sector 2. Oh, he'll leave the door open, and we will get down the inside of yet another one. Come on then, Carlos Sainz. Let's see if we can try and get a run on him. Oh, there we go. The DRS finally re-enabled. Wonderful. Finally, that DRS back working again then in this Grand Prix. Around the outside then we go, and that could not have happened at a more perfect time for us. Well, by the time George Russell pits then, we should obviously come out well ahead of him once more, so it's gonna probably be a fight between Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton towards the end of this race. I believe the last time neither of those two drivers won a Formula 1 Grand Prix in an entire season must have been all the way back in 2006, before Hamilton had made his debut, and Verstappen was less than 10 years old. That goes to show just how in control those two can be in their time in Formula 1, as Russell then dives back into the pit lane, so we should get another one for free, as his teammate then coming under pressure from Albon and ourselves. Oh, Antonelli there, a little bit of a late defensive manoeuvre, tries to pinch us, but Albon and I will effectively Ricardo Zonta him down it towards turn 1 there. Russell, he could still be a threat towards the end, but hopefully not to us. It's getting a good run up the hill though on Albon. Oh, that got a little bit sketchy, but I just did not sit in behind with all the dirty air. Oh, there we go, new fastest lap of the day, and that sends a warning shot to that top 3 up at the front of the order there. Hamilton desperately trying to defend from Norris and Verstappen by the time they get down in towards turn 1. All this could really do, this might really fall into our lap towards the end of this race, because if those guys keep holding each other up, surely these tyres shouldn't be much of a cause for concern towards the end of the race. It's just how you play it. Do you go uber aggressive and try and make sure you get there as soon as possible, or do you try and be a bit more patient and make sure you got enough tyre come the end of the Grand Prix? That is the ultimate question then at this stage. As Charles Leclerc there, he's had a couple of rough weekends recently. Looks to be on a bit of a return to form in Qatar, constantly dragging that Ferrari to results it probably doesn't deserve. Right, come on then, Leclerc again, surely is going to be a sitting duck on the run down towards turn 1 as Hamilton up at the front of the order. I mean, we know that Aston Martin hasn't got much straight line speed at the best of times, and Verstappen finally will swoop through then and up into P1, but that last lap, we took almost 2 seconds at Lando Norris in front. 8 laps to go here. The championship could still be decided tonight. Oh, there we go, inside the DRS range of Lando Norris, but has Hamilton stayed in the range of Verstappen? No, he hasn't by the looks of it. So Lando Norris now trying to have a look around his outside to try and put a car between himself and ourselves then late on in the day, but such a valiant effort from Lewis Hamilton in an Aston Martin that obviously won the World Championship last season. Definitely hasn't quite had the pace to do it this season, but Verstappen now trying to run away, and despite starting from 10th, 14th and last on the grid, it looks like still it is going to be McLaren versus Red Bull for the victory there, muscling our way around the outside of Lewis. And up then back into third spot. We've got yellows right at the rear of the field. That looks to be Bortoletto for the second time this weekend, suffering with a mechanical failure. So clearly an issue with that Sauber car, unable to handle the heat, to handle the pressure right towards the end of this. Lando Norris is a driver that in previous years hasn't been able to handle the pressure either. And at the moment, he is trying to do everything he possibly can to soak it up. Let's not forget, your Season 1 champion going up against your Season 2 champion inside this series. But bizarrely, obviously prior to this season, we never really battled with each other. But goes to show as well, of course, obviously over in my team, Cadillac and Ferrari have won every single race of Season 4 so far. That championship decider will be going out on Friday. But with Verstappen now just still hanging on at the front of the order, will Lando Norris get a run on him out of the final turn? It looks like Hamilton now is really beginning to drop away then later on in the day, as here goes Norris to the outside of Verstappen. And once again, questions being called about where Max Verstappen's loyalties lie. He's let Lando Norris through there. Not really sure he could have done much in towards turn 1. But is he going to stick with him, or is he potentially going to back us up a bit more and give Norris a chance to run? Verstappen there kicking out the back end as well, but I mean, look at that already. He might lose this range to Lando Norris here, so like I said, is Verstappen just trying to back us up a little bit? I mean, he had the pace over Norris for quite a few laps here, but as soon as the McLaren driver's gone by, Verstappen really beginning to struggle there. He should still just be inside the range, but surely Laurent Mekies is on the radio telling his driver to get out of the way. Verstappen still yet to win a race this entire season. A few laps ago, it looked like it was his for the taking there, but to the outside of our Dutch rival we will go in towards turn 1, and he will again just back out of it there. So clearly being told if he doesn't do that, questions are going to be raised, and of course we know how much swing Verstappen has got inside this Red Bull team. But suddenly now, between Lando Norris and ourselves, if we win this race, it is championship done and dusted for the McLaren man. I'm pretty certain we've got more wins on count back over the course of the year. Norris has to do everything he can to try and stay ahead. Well, 2 laps to go then of this Grand Prix. Lando Norris still doing everything he possibly can. But if we can win this race, it will have to be down to those last few laps I did on the hard tyre after everybody else had dived into the pit lane. We were just able to keep setting good lap times, keep dragging the car a little bit further there, and obviously was able to keep George Russell at bay as well. Activate the DRS then. Less than 2 laps potentially between us and a second Formula 1 World Championship there. Norris gives us a big old squeeze in towards turn 1. He is not going to give up on it though. It's all big snap oversteer, banging wheels through turn 1 there as we will try and go around the outside through turn 2 and up then into the lead of the Grand Prix once again. Here comes Norris though, a big slingshot up in towards turn 4. We're going to be side by side again then as I just try and make sure we stay in track limits there. And Norris, he can't do anything about it off the exit of the corner. He's not going to give up though, still side by side as we will squeeze him out through the exit of the turn. This would be enough to become Formula 1 World Champion right now, and with Verstappen still waiting in the wings, could we still see more chopping and changing in towards the final lap? These mediums, they have held on really, really nicely towards the end of the Grand Prix, but they are beginning to scream now with just 1 more lap to go. You can see the blistering on that front left as you make your way up in towards this final sector. Every time it kind of just reminds you as to how much pressure goes through that left-hand side tyre, through that triple right-hander. 1 more lap to go, though. Are we going to be able to defend from Lando Norris even down in towards turn 1? We will swing to the inside to defend it, as Norris, he's going to try and claim a bit of a toe from us. But where is he going to go? To the outside, he has to, as we will keep the car pinned to the wall. Lando Norris locks up in towards turn 1, though. He had the move done, but a little bit of a lock up there, a little bit of a mistake from the McLaren man. Oh, there's more contact. Norris again understeers out wide through the exit of the corner. And now we've got to defend the inside line up the hill, because we know just how good of a run he can get. We keep the car there. We have to give him space, though, on the exit of the corner. Norris can't do anything about it. And the underbody has taken damage as well. Just seeing immediately how much we struggle to get the power down off the corner. 5 cars from 4 different teams now. A blanket could be thrown over and it would cover all of them in these final few corners of this Grand Prix. But a disastrous qualifying yesterday. We took some engine penalties. We've had such a good power unit throughout the Grand Prix here tonight. Surely Norris now can't do anything in towards the final few corners of the Grand Prix. Surely there is not a chance for him to get a run anywhere in towards these final couple of turns as we make our way down in towards the final corner. It has not been an easy year with the Red Bull Formula 1 team, but after Verstappen lost the crown out of the final turn, we're going to bring it back to Milton Keynes. Out of the final corner, we are world champion.
Oh, you worked hard for that one. Congratulations, well done.
Really well executed race, well done.
And that's the checkered flag. What an effort from the team here in Qatar. And a fully deserved victory too.
And this really is, as we know, Crofty, a team game. And a performance from the driver like this today gives the team energy moving forwards. It's closely fought in the Constructors' Championship, and this will go a long way to boosting that energy as we move forward.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Well, clearly then, according to the game, we have not done enough to win the Formula 1 World Championship this weekend. We'll have to take a look back at base. Maybe I got my count back wrong or something right towards the end of the year there. But for the second weekend in a row, it is going to be a McLaren and both Red Bulls on the podium. But from last to first, that has got to be one of my greatest drives inside F1 25 there. Lando Norris will come through for P2 ahead of Verstappen. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton inside your top 5 there with Albon, Antonelli, Russell, Oscar Piastri down in 9th, and Carlos Sainz there rounding out your top 10. I believe it was just Bortoletto, though, that failed to see the checkered flag when all is said and done, so definitely a weekend to forget for the Sauber driver there, but yeah, I mean, I just want to take a quick look then. Constructors-wise, we'll have made huge gains, won't we? 3 points now ahead of McLaren as we head into that season finale there. Williams locked in for P3. Aston Martin looked pretty much guaranteed P4 ahead of Ferrari and Mercedes there, and Haas as well, unless Alpine bag a 1-2 in the season finale. Looks like, yeah, the only real battle still yet to be decided is the one right at the very front. But a 25-point lead over Lando Norris. Yeah, count back, I'm pretty certain we have done enough there to win this, unless I got my numbers wrong. Oscar Piastri, though, still in 3rd overall ahead of Verstappen, as he's now got a 5-point buffer ahead of Leclerc. So it looks like despite how much Oscar and Max have struggled all year, and despite how much better Leclerc and Albon have probably been, it still looks like they're going to get the jump on the Ferrari and the Williams there. Both Williams, followed by both Aston Martin and both Mercedes, at the bottom of your top 10 in the World Championship. But yeah, Leclerc thoroughly outclassed Franco Colapinto throughout the course of this campaign. Still just Lawson, Doohan and Hadjar yet to score a point. But I don't normally do this, though. We're going to have to head back to the base to see how I've got my numbers wrong. Well, having a look then over at the standings and the season results, we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wins over the course of the year. Lando Norris has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins over the course of the year. So obviously, if he won Abu Dhabi, we both each have 9 wins to our name. We have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 second places. Norris has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 second places. So there we go then. Turns out, If Lando Norris wins next weekend and we don't score a single point, we would be tied on 446. We would each have 9 wins, but Lando Norris, courtesy of, 2 extra second place results over the course of the campaign, that would be enough still for him to win the World Championship, and I just had not factored that in to my numbers come the end of the campaign there. So it's a good job for you guys, because that season finale should be going live tomorrow then. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we will be back then for the championship decider out in Abu Dhabi.